wisdom table. You'll find insight and good sense straight from above. It's not earthly wisdom, but it's God's knowledge given straight from above. It's the wisdom table. It's the wisdom table. It's the wisdom table. It's the wisdom table. It's the wisdom table.
Hey everybody, this is Shanikri Harris and I am with the Wisdom Table. I am so excited tonight to be joining you. And it is about 7:17, but you know what? We are here. We was just about to log on and my internet just went completely out. But nevertheless, we're here. We're excited about tonight. This is the third Monday, and every third Monday, we're going to have women. When women connect, we empower. And so that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to connect and then we're going to empower. So I'm excited tonight. I have two phenomenal ladies with me on tonight. And before we begin, we just want to each of them to introduce themselves. Tell us who you are, your credentials, and things of that nature, and then we'll go right into our topics on tonight. So let's begin with Wendy at the very top.
Well, hi. I am so thankful and blessed to be here and to be a part of your ministry and how I'm just really excited. So if I lose my train of thought, please bear with me. I am 48. Well, I will be 48 on July 4th. I am a single mother with a beautiful 3-year-old daughter. I am a cancer survivor, as we will be discussing this evening. I hesitate a little bit to say that, I guess because my form of cancer wasn't as severe as many other people. But I think, regardless of your treatment and the options that you take, I think the fears and concerns and emotional toll can be very similar person to person. But I've always felt a little bit humble to even say that because of what I know other people have endured in their journeys compared to mine. I mean, you can always find something to be blessed for, right? So, anywho, I'm just glad to be here and happy to share anything I can from my journey with you to help and encourage, uplift, and support. So,
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Wendy. And next we're gonna have Shantae, and Shantae is actually my cousin from Mississippi. So thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm very honored you asked me. And I just realized I've been a nurse 10 years. When you said tell us about yourself. So I've been a nurse 10 years. I've done a lot of different nursing. I've done ER nursing, industrial nursing, I've been a sedation nurse for a pain doctor. I've worked every aspect of a surgery center. I've done a lot of stuff. My current role is the assistant nurse manager of an inpatient mental health unit. And I've also recently got my master's in nursing education, working on my DNP as we speak. So, as she said, I'm from the Mississippi Gulf Coast. I still stay here. I love it here. And I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. We're so excited that you both accepted my invitation. The Wisdom Table has been going on now since 2020 when the pandemic first hit. We usually have a conference, but we start trying to strategize and do different things. And so when we start doing the Wisdom Table, it just continue to grow. And so each season, we just try to bring topics that's relevant to women and then just, bring on people that have live testimonies such as you, Whitney, and then also that are specialists such as you, Shantae. So we thank you guys so much for joining us on today. And so without further ado, I just want to go ahead and go forth with our questions today. So our topic we're going to talk about is number one is Juneteenth. And then we're going to talk about PTSD and we're going to talk about cancer. So we want to start off with cancer first. And I know that Wendy shared a little bit about that she is a cancer survivor. And I think you had it twice, right?
I have, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your journey with that, because I know that that couldn't have been something easy, even though you was given light to it. Anytime you hear that C word, that's a scary word for anybody
Oh,
that I know. So
by all means, yeah.
Mhm.
So my first round with cancer. So first, I'll just share. I had thyroid cancer. So if there is a cancer you can sign up for, I would suggest to you, if God's got that on your list of things you must endure or things that you have part of your story, thyroid cancer is probably the most curable form of cancer that you can have. But the effects are tend to be a little bit more long term. So I was first diagnosed in 2003. I was 29 years old. I had gone in for a well woman exam. During the exam, they always kind of test over, run their hands over you, make sure you don't have any lumps or bumps or things in places where you shouldn't have lumps or bumps. And I had a mass in my neck, and I was told immediately to go to my family physician in the same day, that it was urgent, but no one told me why. So I thought it was really odd. It was really unnerving to me. But it was, can you get into your family physician? And yeah, can you get in today? Yeah, you need to get in today. Okay. And once I got to my family physician, and I explained, hey, I don't really know why I'm here. My gynecologist sent me here. They found this spot. I mean, I don't know what this is. And then in the same day, I was quickly rushed to getting an ultrasound of this particular area. The ultrasound technician started crying during my exam, and I still don't know what's wrong. And she had said, we're going to get this to the radiologist. I can't tell you, but you don't need to sit on this. And I'm just like, what in the world? I had no way to even fathom. I think it was the furthest thing from me. 29, I don't think you think of having cancer. I don't think you think of having a terminal illness. You're young. You're, in your prime. You're doing your thing. I was fresh out of college. I had married my husband. It was strange to me, but within 24 to 48 hours, I had a biopsy and a formal diagnosis. So that was really terrifying to me. One of the things that has been really, I guess a special part of my life was being able to sing at church. And I was told that I needed to have surgery and that your nerve for your vocal cords is right there in the same area. If they nick it even in the least little bit, you don't have a voice anymore. You end up having a very raspy voice, like you have a cold or something. And I definitely wouldn't be able to sing for church, which was really a big deal for me. And the fact that I was a music major kind of made it a big deal for me. So I got through the surgery okay. The cancer itself, the tumor itself, was encapsulated within the gland, which means it had not metastasized. Metastasis, of course, means that it's moved to other parts of your body, and it's not just in one neat little package. So I was fortunate I did have the option at that time to go ahead and do chemotherapy to destroy the other part of my thyroid. They explained to me, of course, at that time that generally when you have this type of cancer, it comes back. And, I will always need to be aware of that. But supplementing your thyroid hormones, and we all know as women how critical your hormones can be, it was a little bit daunting to me to think about how to medicate and how to manage. But you can manage on half your thyroid because it just kind of takes over the function. So I left the healthy part. And then about 4 years later, in 2007, I had a second tumor that was discovered. By that time, I had been very aware, maybe ultra aware of any lump or bump anywhere on my body because, what I thought had been a swollen gland before, just, like a cold or virus, turned out to be something so much more significant. So I went in and I had a CT scan. They found a second tumor. So I had the other part of my thyroid destroyed at that point, or removed. And then I went through a couple of rounds of chemotherapy, which is, for thyroid cancer, chemotherapy is a little bit different. We tend to think of chemotherapy like people losing their hair and getting real ashy and losing their appetite and being real thin and gaunt. And I was spared of that because chemotherapy for thyroid is radioactive iodine. And the only cells in your body that are capable of absorbing iodine are in the thyroid. So the chemotherapy goes directly to where it needs to go, and then you're well, rather than destroying healthy cells along with the cancer. So that took about 1.5 to 2 years to finally get through it. And then since, I've just managed with the thyroid supplement and regular visits to the doctor. And now that I'm menopausal, that hormone cocktail changes. Like you're just constantly trying to figure out what is the magic formula here and how can I keep myself sane. So that is interesting. The thyroid does control a lot of unique systems in your body that people don't really realize it can be related to. Historically, when I was reading about it, I had learned that a lot of women, before they could diagnose thyroid cancer, were diagnosed with schizophrenia because it would change the way their brain functioned. And it just, was interesting to me to go back through that. I was very thankful that I did not have something that was completely debilitating in the sense that I was no longer able to work or function normally. It was a blessing to have the right hands, to help me along the way. So,
well, thank you so much, Wendy, for sharing that with me, because I really appreciate you sharing your story. And so what I want to go to now, I want to go to Shantae. I'm sorry. I know a lot of
That's okay. That's okay.
Ms. Richardson. Okay, I can't get that wrong. So just tell me a little bit about it. Educate us on, because she's a nurse educator. So educate us on the difference between the thyroid cancer and the breast cancer, because Whitney is saying that if you're gonna get cancer, you want to wish you had that, which I wish none of it. But I just want to understand the logic behind of what she's saying.
Well, there are different types of cancer. And like she said, thyroid cancer would probably be the not safer, but the one you want to do because it's less invasive. Like she said, you can go straight to the thyroid, remove it, get chemotherapy, and most of the time you're better. The mortality rate for thyroid cancer is way less than any other cancer. Let's say breast cancer. Breast cancer can come in different stages depending on what stage you're in. You can go through chemo and everything and you still have it. You just can't have surgery to get rid of it. So that's another issue. Like she said with her thyroid cancer, they just went in and the chemotherapy goes straight to the thyroid where it needs to be. Well, with breast cancer and other cancers like that, it depends on if it has moved or metastasized to other organs and body tissues. And if it has, then that's a whole nother issue that you have to deal with.
Wow. That was some great enlightenment. Okay. So tell us this. Okay. So with the thyroid cancer, you just remove the thyroid, and then that just take care of that cancer. So it's not able to spread like the breast cancer and all those things.
With the help of chemo, you still have to get the chemotherapy, and you still have to get your regular checkups, because just like anything else, it can spread, but it's least likely to spread to other places if you catch it and take care of it in time.
Wow. Well, that's good to know. Okay. So our next question is, because she did receive it twice, and then maybe you can give us some insight on this, Wendy, because you told us that that you got it twice. So if you had it removed the first time, or did you have it all removed? Like what happened?
Well, so your thyroid has really two lobes. If you can kind of think of it, it's a gland in your neck. It's about the size of a walnut, typically, if it's normal, and it looks kind of like a walnut, if you will. It's kind of got the two halves. So the first tumor I had was fully encapsulated within one lobe or one half of the thyroid gland. So they were able to remove it. I mean, I could show you my scars. I don't think they'll show up on but they were able to go in through a small incision in the neck and then just take that piece of it out. Had it been metastatic, it would have been a completely different ballgame. I mean, I would have had a different kind of chemotherapy. I would have had, but again, this is not something that you typically think of as a 29-year-old young woman. You know, it's just not something that crosses your mind to look for. It's not something that's really screened for unless you're real heavy or real thin and there's some other sign or question that your physician may have, that you maybe have a thyroid problem or issue. So for me, again, the hardest part of it is finding the balance in the supplement for the hormones, because when your body doesn't produce it on its own, you gotta get it from somewhere, because you gotta have it. It's very critical to your brain function. It does a lot of things for you apart from just metabolic issues. And your cousin can speak to that more as a medical professional as to how that affects you. But so that's why I had it twice. I really could have probably spared myself, but I was told that sometimes the difficulty in supplementing the hormones can be such that it's just better if you can let your body regulate itself. And I chose to do it that way. It was, something I discussed with my physician. Not all physicians will do it, so.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, so Shantae, tell me this: who gets cancer?
Anybody can get cancer.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a race thing. It's not an age thing. It's not skinny or get cancer.
Okay.
Grown people, children, literally.
Okay. So cancer is not genetic, or is it genetic?
Some people think cancer is genetic when you're talking about stuff that's happened in the family through generations, which is only about 5 to 10% of the time. So like you might find a family that everybody's had stomach cancer. Then you would say within that family, they have a hereditary trait of stomach cancer. But that doesn't mean like cancer is genetic as a whole.
Okay, because I've seen that, and this is Cancer Survivor Month. Everyone, you're listening to the Wisdom Table. I see we have some people watching us, so thank you so much for joining us. Please feel free share please feel free to share this on your page. We greatly appreciate it. This is information that we all as women can use. Okay, we're empowering one another, and so I've always heard that women that known like family members who've had breast cancer, they would just go in and just get their breast cut off because they didn't want to end up having that later on in life. So you're saying that it's only a 5% that genetically that they can get cancer if someone in their family had it.
Mhm.
Hmm.
But a lot of people do it preventively, like you said.
Mhm.
I know a family where about this young lady, her mom and her aunt has had stomach cancer. So she elected her and her sister to have their stomachs removed because they
Oh,
felt
wow.
like, yeah, they felt like that it was hereditary. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay, and so you have doctors that would do that.
Yes.
A medical issue, they would just go ahead and do that just based on the history.
Yeah, based on the history of her mom and her aunt, they went ahead and did it.
Wow.
Wow, that is amazing. Okay, so tell me this: now, are they like real skinny because they don't have a stomach? Like, how do you function? Like, I'm like, what's going on?
Well, I don't know if they're real skinny or not, but they don't have a stomach because they elected to have it removed just for preventative measures.
Hmm.
Wow. Okay, well, that's something that I did not know anything about. All right, so what is the cure for cancer, or is there a cure? I know that people are still working on that. Like, what, as an educator in the medical field, what can you share with us?
Um, there's no real cure for cancer. There are treatments that can cure you, but as for the cancer itself, there's not a cure. So, what I mean by that is you might have pancreatic cancer. There's no cure for pancreatic cancer, but how you're treated, the chemotherapy that you get, the medicine that you get will cure your pancreatic cancer, if that makes sense.
It does.
Okay.
Yeah, because we've known people that went into remission
Uh-huh.
after when I mean we have a testimony on here, even though
Mhm.
she's saying that her cancer is not as severe,
Right.
she still went into remission of it twice. So
Yes.
definitely with the treatments that does help cure your particular cancer. Is there any way to prevent it? I know that they encourage everybody to get their yearly done because that's how you discovered yours, right, Wendy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Get your yearly done. Exercise, don't smoke, take care of your weight, eat the right things. They say red meat's not good for us. So, like, make sure you use your sunscreen. Everybody needs sunscreen, black, white, it doesn't matter. We still need
Really?
sunscreen. Oh,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
That's another myth that people don't believe that black people or brown skinned people don't need sunscreen. We do. We
Okay.
need sunscreen because we're putting ourselves at risk for at risk for increased cancer if we don't use it and we're
Wow.
out in the sun for a while. So yeah.
I am really learning a lot tonight. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. So you said that, okay, so African American, Black, brown people, it is important for us also to use the sunscreen because it protects us from the sun.
Yes.
I know that I have to take a vitamin D3 just to keep my vitamin up. So, and that's interesting because I got all my blood work done while we was on vacay these 2 months. And so one of the things that I have to do is to take my vitamin D, and that is the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I'm going out in the sun, I still need to.
Because you're
Um,
protecting your skin. You're protecting.
okay,
You're still gonna get the sun you need because I have to do that too. My vitamin D is real low,
okay,
but you're protecting the skin. You're protecting the outside, so you're still gonna get what you need from the sun.
okay.
You're just not gonna put your skin and your body at risk for developing cancer.
Okay, okay, because there's a such thing as the skin cancer. Okay, so any more questions about the stages of cancer or any type of thing that we want to talk about as far as cancer before we go to the next thing? Because I want to make sure uh, that we cover everything. Anything else y'all want to add to it?
I'll just tell people to be vigilant. Some cancers don't cause pain, so you won't know that that's what it is. But if it's something strange, like a lump, bump, mole, something that won't get well, if you're bleeding and it won't get well, if you have a discoloration of anything and it won't get well, those things need to be looked at, not just it'll get better, because oftentimes it could be a sign of cancer. So
Mm,
cancer doesn't always come with pain like some people think.
I
that's
had no pain. I had
Yeah.
absolutely no pain.
Yep.
wow. And that's I was just about to say that you said that you had no clue. Even when they was like tipping around you and telling you you need to go see this person and that, I mean, you still was like clueless of what was going on.
Yeah, so I mean, I agree that the best thing you can do for yourself is to make sure that you get those checkups when you are scheduled to get them. And a lot of doctors and medical providers will work on sliding scales for people. You know, there's so much more out there for insurance options that we, haven't had ever before. So, it's really important because for for mine, and I don't care if it was, I don't want to say I don't care that it wasn't breast cancer, because I was certainly thankful that it didn't, but I think you go to the same place mentally and emotionally. You think, man, I'm going to die, because
Hmm.
that word is almost synonymous with certain death. Now, it can be, but the best way to get it is to catch it and catch it early, to stay on top of it. For me, I had absolutely no abnormalities in my blood work whatsoever. I
Hmm.
wasn't underweight. I wasn't overweight. I was so fit and healthy. There was nothing that would have made me think that at 29 years old, I, I could be sick. I mean,
Hmm.
there just wasn't anything. So, um, and trusting, finding a good medical professional that you trust, I
Hmm.
think is really important. And having someone that you can have very candid discussions with, somebody that you can say, I just don't feel my best, or I have chronic fatigue, which is something that a low thyroid can tell you. With my particular form of cancer, that weight issues are a problem, fatigue is a problem, brain fog is a problem. None of it is particularly painful,
Hmm.
but it's there and you might not know it's there. So it's really
Hmm.
important to have those discussions with your medical provider to make sure that you're doing everything that you can, um, to, not only prevent, but to hopefully catch something and treat it early. So,
That's a good point. And one of the things I wanted to bring out, because I know that any type of diagnosis that you get, but I know cancer is that thing that, people really, get real scared of. And I know some people, that has suffered that. And so my question to you is that who was your support group and who was speaking life to you? I mean, did you have anybody that was saying crazy stuff to you? Or maybe you can encourage somebody who, may have family member or a friend that's going through that and what to say to them, because a lot of times when people are going through, they don't really know how to encourage people.
oh, that's so good. I'm so glad you asked that. Um, so for me, before I had the surgery, before I had a diagnosis, they sent, samples off, to both the Mayo Clinic and Johns Hopkins, to make sure that they had the right, result, or that the results were consistent, and but I remember shopping with my mother, and we were in the middle of a department store, and she just was bursting into tears, so I
Oh,
found that it was really hard to
mhm,
be around some people, because they had a harder time managing it than maybe I did. And other members of my family, were like, well, what are you going to do with your stuff? Like, you got a horse, you got you got a truck, it was like, what are you going to do with all this? And I'm like, man, I ain't dead yet. Nobody's going to,
Oh my God. What are they asking for your material stuff? Lord.
Yeah. So you find that you do have to have a tribe, right? And sometimes that tribe doesn't necessarily have the people you would expect to have in it, right? Like you would want to have your mom, but if your mom's a basket case, you can't always be around mom, right? Mm-hmm. And you want to have your siblings and your cousins, God love them, because we do, right? But sometimes if they're just interested in your stuff or, then it's like everybody's focus is on what's going to happen when you die, and holy cow, I'm not dead yet. So
yeah, they've already put you there.
Talk about what we're going to do because I plan on living, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I found a lot of the more knowledge I had, the better it was for me. So I had asked for resources both online and just books and things from again, this comes down to having a good working relationship with your physician and your healthcare team, because they will be able to recommend those resources for you. I started reading, that's kind of how I started picking up on those weird signs of, wow, I should have known that something was wrong when you have, again, thyroid cancer, and these women who historically were misdiagnosed. They were put into asylums because they had a thyroid issue that nobody knew how to fix, but they had symptoms of schizophrenia. Like, you're not nuts, right? Like, but you think you're nuts. So anyway, wow. A lot of those books and things were tremendously helpful to me. Also played a good part in my decision not to do chemotherapy the first time. So again, it's really important. But of course, the offshoot was there was no way I could miss an annual exam. There was no way I could miss seeing my doctor because I had to be monitored very closely. So I still do. I still do, because you don't ever really get rid of it. You're just in remission, and hopefully you get to a point where you're in remission permanently, right?
Yep.
So those were the best things, I think. There are cancer groups out there. For me, I didn't care for it. It was dark, and because there were people there that were worse off than I was, and then I felt bad about, almost bad about participating, like a survivor's guilt, kind of like, I'm scared, I'm still here, but do I even have a right to be scared? So I think those things are again really critical, and having a go-to is important. I had a good support network with my husband at the time, his family, my sister, but I did have to limit some time with my mom for a while. It was just tough. So anyway, can't stress enough, medical providers are your life. But I did have to for a while. Anyway, can't stress enough, medical providers are your life. But I did have to for a while.
Wow. That is so good.
Can't stress enough, medical providers
Can y'all hear
are your life.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I really like how you brought that out, Wendy. And then also there's a couple of questions I have for Ashanti. Some of the things she said was some of the women, they put them, in the crazy house or mental institution. Have you heard anything similar to that she's talking about? Or
Yes, that's because they I guess I can say back in the day or even recently, people didn't understand the symptoms of thyroid cancer. It can mirror, like she said, schizophrenic symptoms, as in forgetting stuff or not being able to think on your own anymore, giving you brain fog, if you don't, if your provider or who you have taking care of you has no experience with that or doesn't know what's going on, then of course the first thing they're going to look at is your mental health instead of your physical health, which is it was cancer all along.
Mm.
So, like she said, you have to have people in your corner that are knowledgeable, that will
Mm-hmm.
go the extra mile for you and not just say, oh, she's crazy, and
Mm-hmm.
actually check every avenue before they just say, oh, she's crazy. So
Hmm.
that's a great thing to do.
Wow. So this is so good. Okay, so one of the things before we go to PTSD, because we're down to the wire here, and I don't want to even though we had some technical difficulties, I still want to stick to our time zone. So one of the things I want to ask you, Shantae, that is there anything since you are in the background of this and the health, the person, the family. Like, what would you tell those family members that seeing their family or a friend going through this? Like, how would you encourage them to encourage them? Because, like she said, it could be, it was her mom that wasn't strong, and I understand that. If your mom, because that's, you her child, and she probably thinking all the stuff in her mind. So, which is understandable. But what could you tell somebody who's have a family member that's going through that? How can they encourage them?
I would tell them that this is the time where you have to be strong for them,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what kind of cancer they have. It's unknown territory. So just like her mom was emotional, I would just tell any other mom, you can be emotional and have your cry and everything, but don't do it around
Mm-hmm.
them because at that moment they need you to be strong.
Mm-hmm.
And I also would encourage therapy. Sometimes when people have long-term cancer diagnoses and treatment, maybe their family can't be the one to help them through. So therapists are great avenues
Mm-hmm.
through those diagnoses, even after, because you've experienced a traumatic life event and you still have to go through that.
That's good, and that's going to lead us on to PTSD, the post traumatic stress disorder, and we know that most everybody have experienced that in their life. I don't have the time to go into details of some tragedy things that have happened to me in my life, but just on the surface, if somebody is experiencing PTSD, because it's not all just military. I think they sort of nailed it to military for a while, but there's been some traumatic events. Even kids experience that. I've dealt with kids who
Hmm.
just hyper and just don't know how to react to things. So can you give us some light on that as well?
Yes, PTSD is not just for, like you said, not just for veterans and military people anymore. PTSD is what it says, post traumatic stress disorder. Anything that someone considered stressful enough in their life where it interrupts their sleep, it interrupts their thinking, it interrupts their day to day life, no matter what, just like children, like you said. It can be something small to an adult, but it's still considered PTSD in a child if
Mm-hmm.
it causes them these discomforts in life.
Mm-hmm. That is good. That's good. Wow, you're just really knowledgeable, girl. Isn't she awesome?
It
Okay, so
is
tell
awesome.
us, Linda, is she does. She knows stuff. Okay, so Wendy, tell me a little bit about, have you ever experienced PTSD?
I would say so. Not so much from trauma as it would be related to cancer, but certainly in other um, facets of my story. I have a diverse story, as you know, and
Yeah,
excuse me, I'm so sorry.
that's okay. And we're
Um,
gonna have her on, y'all, like a whole lot this particular season because she has a lot that she wants to share, and it is so much beginning from the beginning of your life. So we'll be unpacking all of that. So we're down to about 8 minutes. Is there anything you want to share just right off the top before we go to the next thing?
I can't think of anything, but
Okay. Okay, great. All right. So, also today is Juneteenth, y'all, and I am so excited because I want to know, and I'm going to keep you up there, Wendy. I want you to tell me what Juneteenth means to you, girl.
I gotta tell you, I am not. terribly familiar with it. This is not, Juneteenth is not a holiday that I grew up appreciating or understanding. And I think that's tragic, honestly. What I understand of it to be, of course, is kind of a celebration of a group of people who were slaves, who were liberated. I think they were on a ship. Is that correct? Um, I apologize. I am not terribly familiar with it. So enlighten me because I want to learn too. So give me wisdom too, please.
Absolutely, absolutely. I do have something that I think I'm gonna show on our way out though, so that we could get through it. But before we go into that, to tell about the Juneteenth, because it is nothing to be ashamed about it, because it just became very popular. Even in school it was mentioned, but it wasn't celebrated like in my surroundings either. So it's just started becoming a big celebration, I would say, within the last couple of years. So that I found out about it within the last 5 years. So, Miss Richardson, can you tell us a little bit about what you think about Juneteenth?
So to start out, for Miss Wendy, so I'll just explain Juneteenth a little bit
Thank
and
you.
to watch your video.
She's an
Um,
educator.
so yeah, so about I think 157 years ago, we had the emancipation of slaves. Well, it was this one town in Texas that did not emancipate or let their about 250,000 slaves know that they were free people. So they actually had to go to this city and let these people know, hey, you are not slaves anymore, you are free. So that's the gist of Juneteenth, for everybody. And what it means to me is resilience. It's all about my
Mm,
ancestors. My ancestors were resilient people. It's about having freedom, past, present, and future freedom. That's all. That's how I feel about it.
I think that's awesome. It was actually yesterday. We're celebrating it today.
Mhm.
We had the holiday today, but it happened on the 19th, and I am so excited about it, and that I'm really glad that they've incorporated that with like African American music. Like they had a lot of little festivals today in the city, just doing a lot of things to just I guess like a liberation, like freedom, like I think the world celebrate, or the United States, July 4th. So it's like
Right.
more of a liberty for those who was enslaved. So we're empowering. That's what ladies, when we connect, we empower. And so that's what we did on tonight. This was really, really great. I really thoroughly enjoyed this. Before we go, is there anything else you guys would like to share on tonight before I close out?
I don't think so. Thank you
Okay.
for having me. I really enjoyed this.
Well,
It was really great. And actually, I didn't even get any participants from the audience. We usually have people asking questions and trying to talk and things like that. But this was a serious conversation. And so, this probably people probably was like, hey, we just need to listen. And it was informative. Like, I've learned so much tonight. Like, oh my God, talking about a specialist. You truly are a specialist. And
Mhm.
then I want to thank you, Wendy, for sharing your story. And again, like I stated, everyone, that she will be unpacking a whole lot this particular season. So I'm excited about it. She's my sister from another mother, y'all. So we're so excited to have her with us on tonight. And definitely thank God for my cousin down in Mississippi. Like she said, the Gulf Coast, honey. We love our little area down there. So yes, she's doing great things, and we're very proud of her. The accomplishments that she's accomplished. And we see that she's doing great with this knowledge that she has provided with us on tonight. And so, without further ado, we're just going to go ahead and end it with the story of Juneteenth. So you will have an opportunity to learn a little bit more about it on tonight. So join us next week, because we're going to do the couples theme, where marriages that minister God's glory. That's going to be great. We're going to have the toes with us again. So we just want to encourage all couples to join us on next week. And so we thank you so much for joining us on tonight. at the Wisdom Table. Thank you guys for accepting the invitation. We really appreciate it. God bless.
Nice to meet you, Miss.
At the wisdom table, you'll find insight and good sense straight from above. It's not earthly wisdom, but it's God's knowledge given straight from above. It's the wisdom table. It's the wisdom table. It's the wisdom table. It's the wisdom table. It's the wisdom table.
We can't hear it.
Juneteenth celebrates that day, when the last enslaved people in the South were set free. The Emancipation Proclamation had made it official. That was an executive order issued by Abraham Lincoln in the middle of the Civil War. It said that all enslaved people in the states in rebellion against the United States shall be thenceforward and forever free. Meaning, it applied to the Confederate States, but not to the slave states that stayed in the Union. That's because Lincoln wanted to keep his allies in those states happy. Slavery continued there for months after the Civil War ended. The 13th Amendment outlawed it across the land in December 1865, a half year after Juneteenth. Well, the Emancipation Proclamation was still a big step forward. For one thing, it allowed Black men to enlist in the Union military. Nearly 200,000 Black troops went on to fight for the freedom of their brothers and sisters. But more importantly, it placed the Union squarely on the side of freedom, which meant enslaved people could escape across Union lines, and 500,000 of them did. Every Union victory brought an expansion of freedom. In each area of the Confederacy it conquered, enslaved people were freed. But as Union troops advanced, lots of slaveholders took their operations west. Many found refuge in a place far from the fighting, Texas, until Major General Gordon Granger came to Galveston on Juneteenth. Standing on the balcony of the Confederate headquarters, he read from General Order Number 3. The people of Texas are informed that, in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves. Newly freed people danced, cried, sang, and started to make plans. Word spread quickly across Texas. 70-year-old Molly Harrell was enslaved on a plantation over 200 miles north of Galveston. She said, "Me and my mother left right off. We all walked down the road singing and shouting." If only it were that easy. Many white Southerners refused to accept Black people as their equals. The most hateful began a campaign of terror, attacking and killing Black people across the South. Defying these threats, Black Texans observed the first anniversary of Juneteenth. Back then, it was also called Emancipation Day or Jubilee Day. They sang spirituals, ate barbecue, played games, and recited the Emancipation Proclamation, even though the threat of violence was always there. The country passed several constitutional amendments to protect the rights of Black Americans. But down south, state and local authorities refused to obey these laws. Instead, they did everything they could to make Black people second-class citizens. First, Black Southerners were prevented from voting, so they had no influence in government. Then, laws were passed to bar Black people from participating in everyday life. They couldn't eat with white people, go to the same schools, or use the same water fountains. Black citizens had to live in separate neighborhoods and could only hold lower-paying jobs. And they had to treat white people like they were superior. Try to fight it, and you risk jail time, violence, and even death. This policy of segregation or separation lasted for 100 years. Still, Juneteenth persevered. Celebrating became an act of resistance and a show of strength, and Black communities got creative about making celebrations possible. Because of segregation, many public parks were off limits to Black Texans, so they sometimes pooled funds to purchase their own land. In Houston, in 1872, ministers raised money to buy 10 acres, creating Emancipation Park. It became a safe place to gather on Juneteenth for decades. Smaller celebrations were held in people's homes and in churches too. Juneteenth slowly spread through the country beginning in the 1910s. That was the start of the Great Migration, when millions of Black Southerners sought a better life in the North. As people from Texas joined the migration, the holiday went with them. Then, during the 1950s and 60s, Juneteenth got even bigger. Black people connected their fight for equal rights to the fight to end slavery. Juneteenth embodied all of the pain and triumph of their shared history. Celebrations now featured parades and fireworks, street fairs and rodeos, and presentations about Black heritage. Red food and red drinks symbolize the blood of the enslaved and their resilience in bondage. And in 1980, Texas declared Juneteenth a state holiday. Since then, nearly every state has recognized it as a holiday or day of observance. Yeah, there's recently been a push to make it a federal holiday. That's when government workers get a paid day off, and most everyone else does too, like we have for Independence Day. In fact, some people think of Juneteenth as America's second Independence Day, because the 4th of July only commemorates when white Americans gained independence, while Juneteenth is about when all Americans became free. Making it a federal holiday may not seem like such a big deal, but what a country chooses to honor and celebrate speaks to its core values. And freedom and equality for everyone are values I think we can all get behind. Nice, you baked a Juneteenth cake. We're not supposed to use actual red velvet.
So there you have it. That's Juneteenth, and that's the end of our show. So thank you guys for watching. When ladies connect, we empower. So until next month, on the 3rd Monday of every month, we will be on with something to empower the ladies, and then on 4th Mondays, we will be back for couples. So thank you guys again for joining us, and we're out for real. Bye-bye.
At the wisdom table, you'll find insight and good sense straight from above. It's not earthly wisdom, but it's God's knowledge given straight from above. It's the wisdom table. It's the wisdom table.